Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial is set correctly to usaprepares.com. And I'm delighted to be with you. Also with us today is Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Welcome, Rick.
Good morning, Vincent. I'm just having my coffee now, man, looking at the chemtrails in the morning. And it's just, I can't believe it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 trails in my sky this morning as I woke up. They're laying them down at night now.
Yeah, they're flying a lot more hours than they used to be. However, they stopped flying them over the farm here for the last couple of weeks as much. And I remember the skies of the 1950s and the 1960s, and I would stop people as I saw them, and I'd say, "See that? Look up there. That's the way it used to be in the 1950s and 60s because it had been overcast for so long around here." I was kind of chuckling when we started this broadcast because just like 1 minute before airtime, the phone rang, and I recognized the number coming inbound. And normally I don't take phone calls just before the broadcast, like it's so close to the broadcast like this. So I picked up the phone because I recognized the number. I said, "Dear friend of mine." And he said, "Hey, there's this rumor on another network." And happens to be his network, and he said that I've been that I've been kicked
in front of everybody. I saw that move.
So he said that there's this rumor that I've been kicked off the air, and he just wanted to know if that's true. And I said, "Well, I don't think so. I don't think so because I'm going on the air in a minute." And so that was this morning, and he was glad to hear that I'm still on the air. And I said,
"Why would you have been kicked off, Vincent? What was his?"
Well, there's this rumor. There's a rumor that people who listen to the radio have been calling in to his network saying, "Hey, I understand that Vinny's been kicked off the air at GCN." So when I did connect, 1 minute later, I have this high-speed digital system, and I click the mouse, and I instantly connect to GCN. And so I said to our engineer, John, and John's been with us for a long time. He's a great engineer. And so I said, hey, John, have I been kicked off? He goes, no. And I said, well, it's not Friday yet. Because because what happens on radio generally, I mean, I've been fired, on days other than Fridays, but generally what happens in radio is, you're coasting along, you're doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you leave the station. When I was broadcasting at a local station, you leave, and then there is no Monday. Monday doesn't appear for you to come back on the air. They don't know who you are. They don't remember you. You're locked out of the building. Yeah. And so when you get fired in the radio, there's no warning. They don't say, "Listen, Vinny, you got 2 weeks notice, and we're going to have to let you go because of this, that, or the other thing." They don't do that. They just fire you, and you don't even know about it. It's kind of like Lee Iacocca reading the major newspaper, and he finds out that he's been fired from the auto industry. He's reading that he's been fired by Ford in the Wall Street Journal. That's how he found out. They didn't even tell him. But that's the way it works in radio. And I've been fired 7 times in a period of 12 months, but I haven't been fired in a couple of years. So I must be, maybe I'm not doing something right, but.
Stop it. Jeez.
So, hey, Rick, I was on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday with Norm. Norm was yesterday, Norm Shealy, and I've asked each of the instructors what they thought about the debate, the alleged debate. Did you get a chance to watch any of that?
I watched the first half hour and was so thoroughly disappointed, I walked away. And while there might have been a record, watching that debate, to watch our presidential candidates bicker like small children was a disgrace. And somebody has got to publicly say that for a candidate running for president to act like that in public it's not the country I want to be part of. I have to tell you, I'm embarrassed. It's a disgrace. And these are our presidential candidates? I would have expected someone like Jimmy Carter or something to say this is deplorable and walk away in disgust of the behavior. But Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump sitting there like little children, interrupting each other, bickering. I was unimpressed. I am completely unimpressed, and I would have expected more from criminals. I mean, this is terrible.
Oh, wait, Rick. One of them is a criminal.
Well, yeah, but I would have expected more for her behavior. Yeah. I mean, even as a criminal, that's why they call them white collar. It's at least there's some decorum. It isn't down to the grit of sandboxes and pulling the doll apart because it belongs to you. That's crazy. It's I feel it's time everyone starts saying so too. It's an embarrassment. And I talked with Sweden yesterday. And was on, European radio with a bunch of people out of Sweden, and I just laid it out on how I feel about it. And I said, I am not proud anymore to be an American. I'm embarrassed, and worse, our whole country is a disgrace in the way it appears around the world. Let's talk, Wells Fargo Bank and the hangthebankers.com, and that president is going to be fired probably. And he will walk away with $200 million. How does that work?
Rick, have you...
This is wrong.
I know you had...
this is wrong by any value or standard anywhere. He's being rewarded.
Mm-hmm. Rick, I know you've had positions where you've been employed and you've had to deliver certain tasks, and they'd say, okay, Rick, we'd like you to work on this. And, at some point you'd meet with the boss and say, here's what I've accomplished, here's what I've done, here are the results, and so forth. But making mistakes is something that we tried to avoid when we were employed. You, I, and everyone else who had a job of responsibility. And I can tell you this, that I can't imagine my annual performance review saying, listen, it really could have been worse. We could have lost $200 million. We only lost, $100 million. So it's really like a lot better than it could have. It could have been so much worse. It's not even
about that. The agenda for Wells Fargo is to make certain that every single client that belongs to that bank has a minimum of 8 bank accounts. Now, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. And that is the standard. I looked at my account. I have 3 accounts that I have never used. I don't own them. I've never used them. Why are they there? Oh, well, they're a mistake. We were going to make that. We were trained. What I did is I closed one savings account down, and opened it as a different savings account, but it was actually done as a checking account. Oh, we made a mistake, but they let that checking account go when they reorganized and set it up as another savings. And now I have, and they did this repeatedly with me, and I'm just a little tiny bank. I know there's more going on here than any of us are being given disclosure. And I've had enough of it, and I'm nothing. I don't have any money. So, to have a bank account with $200 in it, and that's it. Why? I have 3 accounts right now that have 0 in it, never had money in it. Where did they come from, and why do I have them? Now, this is a policy that's happening to everybody. Take a look. Look at your own statement. Look and see. You'll see you have extra accounts. Why? I don't know. I don't know anything about banking in that regard. I can tell you that that's why this man is being fired, is for this kind of action with Wells Fargo. It was up front, and now I'm able to see it in my own accounts and under a different banking thing, and they're all doing it. Why? Nobody asks these questions, and I don't get the answers. And my bank manager, she's a really nice person. I've known her a long time, and I appreciate her. And she just looks at me and says, I can't talk about it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, she won't lie to me, but she can't tell me the truth. So what happens next is, this is an area like I used to experience with my parents, where there's subjects you can't talk about. Mm-hmm. And it's wrong. And now that we have Obama doing his thing and having a meltdown on being taken to the woodshed, and now with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, I've had enough. Now, I'm not moving, but I've got offers to move to Mexico. I've got offers to, I'm guessing no place on earth is going to be safe. And when I look up in the sky and see clouds that I don't have a name for, and I am a physicist, what does this mean? And
Rick, you're
smart. I know I'm never going to know either.
Rick, you're talking about Wells Fargo, and they were caught opening millions of fake bank and credit card accounts for their customers over 5 years. 5,400 people were fired for doing this. However, those are the same, 5,300, 5,400 people, employees were fired as a result of this. But they're the same people who were pressured by top management to do this. So, we've got goals and quotas, and we want you to do really well here at the bank. So you need to, improve your performance, which really means do whatever you got to do, fraudulently or otherwise, to make it happen. Class Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. Hey, Rick, this weekend, October 1 and 2, you and I are going to be getting together. We're going to have some dinner. Oh, and while we're having dinner, maybe before we're having dinner, why don't we go to the KCI Expo Center, Kansas City, Missouri, and do a seminar? Why don't we do that?
I don't get in Friday night until 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, but October 1 and 2, Saturday and Sunday.
October 1st, I would love to do something with any of you that want to show up. We could have some kind of a dinner like we've done before. I really like to do that Last Supper thing. And by the way, I apologize for my whining this morning. That's what it is. The whole thing is coming apart at the seams, and I don't buy any of it.
I was at an airport many years ago, and I sat down, and there was this man who appeared to be an Indian, Native American. And so I turned to my right, and I said, "Are you Native American?" He said, "Yeah." And he looked like, the poster boy image that you've got of a long-haired senior citizen American Indian. And his name turned out to be Dr. Adam Fortunate Eagle, and he is a USA Prepares instructor. And he is the guy that was responsible for the Alcatraz sit-in. And he and a bunch of his Native American friends occupied Alcatraz, and they sat in, and they weren't going to let the government sell to a private enterprise a national treasure. They weren't going to let it happen. And they pulled it off. They literally forced the government not to sell Alcatraz. And so he and I started talking about it. The first thing I did when I met him, started chatting with him, was I apologized. And that's kind of what you're saying that you do and have done when you meet people from other countries, because of how disgraceful the behavior of our government is. The nasty things we do, the blowing up of their infrastructure. We send young warriors over there, and people who have no idea what's going on call them heroes, American heroes. Those are people who destroy infrastructure, kill people with rifles, pistols, other weapons, drones. We cut down their electric supply system. We destroy their potable water system. We just mess up their countries, and then little countries that have assets that we want, that have minerals and valuable minerals that we're interested in stealing from them, and we're interested in controlling these little countries. So we go over there and beat them up, and it's a disgrace. Who do we think we are? I remember when I was in elementary school, there were bullies, and that's what they called them. I haven't heard that word in a long time, bullies. And those are people that pushed their weight around and shoved everybody else around. And they weren't liked very much. As a matter of fact, they were despised. And that's kind of what I think other countries think of the United States, that we are despised. But they're also afraid of us. They're afraid that we're going to unleash hellfire missiles on them and worse. And
we are the largest bully in history of the world. Mm-hmm. And I am embarrassed to call myself an American. I used to be very proud. We had a thing called gross national product, and I was productive. How many of you out there are feeling you are being productive now in terms of what you're creating for your family and the rest of the world?
That's such a good point. Rick, that is such a good point. So let me see if I've got this right. So you're asking those people who are sitting behind keyboards, taking, preparing schedules, preparing meetings at keyboards. You're talking about people who are entering data into databases, collecting information about people, those kinds of things. How productive do they feel? Is that what you're saying? Maybe someone who is working at McDonald's or Burger King or one of those places, or someone who has got a job selling shoes because they used to be a manager of something, that kind of thing. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about all of us, not just the keyboard stroking. I mean, it's awful. It's terrible, and it's affecting my self-image and the way I see myself, and why I am in revolt. Individually, inside myself right now, I'm at war.
Great.
This is not the way I want to live. This is not the way I want to be. And this is not the world I'd really like to be in.
9 a.m. through 11 a.m. Central Time. 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Mike Parsons is with us. We're talking about American Indians or Native Americans. Welcome, Mike. Mike Parsons?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I can. Yep.
Okay. Greetings, Vincent, and greeting, Dr. Miller. I just want to offer a brief commentary. I would suggest not apologizing for acts of an illegitimate government or referring to it as our government. It's not our government. It's a private for-profit corporation posing as government, and we're not the owners. This is what I would suggest. As the question has been posed with the out-of-control cops, where are the good cops speaking out against the bad ones? I would say that where are we the people that should be speaking out against those people that are working for this corporate government that are we the people? Speak out against those individuals who are otherwise we the people but they've gone to the dark side for a paycheck. Shame those folks and get them to realize they're hurting us all. And here's what I would pose, as Dr. Miller has brought up in his world. In every one of us, we have an idea of what we would consider to be the utopian, the greatest society if we could create it. Instead of sitting back and wondering who will do that, consider this. Just take a moment and write it down. If I could create a world from scratch, what elements would I have? Because I know there's going to be a lot of people coming along the way as we multiply. What foundational principles would we set up right off the bat in order to establish a safe place to live where everybody plays nice together? And if you're not familiar with all the different forms of government, start with self-governance and then work there outward, because at the end of the day, you're going to find that when people self-govern, they tend to have more freedoms and liberties and respect for their fellow neighbor. It's only when they start creating these constructs such as a democracy, which is majority rule, which means the two wolves can vote the one sheep out of its existence because it's what's for dinner.
Mm-hmm. Mike,
your point is extremely valid, and I will make that change. This is no longer the country I served and protected. In fact, it was probably hijacked even before I was born.
Right, and so don't apologize for something you had nothing to do with. It's not your fault. What is our responsibility, though, is now trying to expose those people, shame them, and then recreate in our best efforts what is, in fact, a real, live, self-governing republic.
I think that I'd like the bar at the end of the street called Cheers, where everybody knows everybody, and you have an armed kibbutzim, one retirement community next door to the next one. I've had enough of this. And in Grants Pass, we have gated communities now that didn't exist previous, and it's because of their gardens, and a group of older people are afraid of what they're going to be attacked by the methamphetamine crowd and or whatever else is out there. And law enforcement right now does the whines where they don't have enough budget, and so they allow. Now I'm looking at, they're laying down chemtrails here this morning. I have never seen this intensity. And it's one line right after another, all the way down the horizon to Medford. And it's crazy.
Mike, you really brought up a great point. And when I apologize, it's not for things that I have done or my grandparents have done or my parents have done. It's for what America or the United States corporation has done. You're absolutely right. But not everybody understands that it's a corporation. So when I apologize, it's because of the atrocities that we have committed, and I feel bad about them. And it's not just to the Native Americans. It's to a whole bunch of countries all over the world. It just reminds me of the ugly American. That's really
that's where it's going. That's exactly what's happening now. And the debate was Exhibit A. I posted a couple days ago 28 different topics that should be and will not be discussed in the presidential debates. And these are topics that are absolutely relevant, and yet they're sacred cows. You can't talk about it. And so here we are at the end of days.
Rick, one of the things that I guess we're really not looking at is one of America's most dysfunctional families, the Clintons. They want to be in charge. They are a dysfunctional family.
Well, they're working for the Bushes, actually, and that's the truth of it. And that woman and that man will say anything for the vote. And it makes me wonder what Trump's really all about. I saw one thing that said he's a ringer on purpose. Mm-hmm. He's there to make money and to fold at the last moment, so it's still Hillary Clinton. I don't know. I know that I don't know. He's like a shill.
Well, that's what I heard Larry Nichols talk about when it came to H. Ross Perot, that he was in and he was garnering attention, and it looked like he could be a serious contender. And then he, at the same time, Larry Nichols told us on the air that that H. Ross Perot's camp and the Clintons were in discussions every day, and finally, the Clintons offered him the software contract for healthcare, and if he would back out of the presidential race of the 90s. And next thing you know, H. Ross Perot is out of the running. So we don't know.
The whole thing is a sham, and how many people actually feel that either of these two candidates are qualified?
Well, of the two, I would certainly rather have the male candidate than the female candidate, because I know how much she lies, and I know instructors who have been on the air with us, people I've met who say that Hillary is absolutely evil, she's dangerous, she's corrupt, she's a criminal. These are people I know. These are people, I know in person, not just voices on the phone or voices on the radio. I'm talking about people who have met her, despise her. They think she is evil, beyond evil. And what do you think?
Her husband will most likely head up the UN when she's elected, and Obama will most likely become a Supreme Court judge. How does that one feel?
Well, Rick, it's even worse than that. Right now it's terrible. If you look at the mood of the United States, it's sour. If you look at the protests, if you look at the oppression, if you say to people, so are you happy? I think most people would say, no, I don't think so. I think most people have realized that the American dream is over. It's been destroyed by the corrupt corporate governance, if you want to call it that.
How do you feel about China taking over our utilities like they did in Canada?
Yeah, and the Panama Canal. Mike, your thoughts?
Larry Nichols said that Hillary would do a rope-a-dope and create the illusion of being the underdog, where she's played sick. I don't know if she's sick or not, but all of a sudden she came out on stage with no sign of illness, and true to form, it appears that she's playing the rope-a-dope underdog, where she's going to come back stronger than ever from what otherwise appears to be some type of life-threatening illness.
I had a friend in Las Vegas, that was watching the presidential debates because she was hoping to see Hillary Clinton choke on her coughing. She was very disappointed.
Well, I watched the entire alleged debate to see how she was going to perform, and she looked great. She looked like she had great posture. She looked like she was the epitome of health.
Yeah, but their behavior was something you'd find on a playground.
But she was on top of her game. She was quick-witted. She was sparring very effectively.
Wasn't there also a law where she's not agreement that she's not supposed to have help from a team and back by having an earplug?
Well, I don't know.
Just in front of everybody.
I don't know about that, but there are rumors to that effect that she had a.
You can see it. I saw pictures where you can actually see it above her earring. Her earring was a solid silver piece, and you could see the little plastic thing in her ear. Now, that is not presidential material. Period. End of story. And Donald Trump is a buffoon and would think he's more intelligent than me because he made more money.
Well, Rick, we know his IQ is between 120 and 130.
How does he put it on his wife? And this is my daughter. Look at her rack. That's from Saturday Night Live. And I have to tell you, the whole thing is an embarrassment.
Well, it's been an embarrassment for years. If you look at who's in the White House now. So many people have in the media have said, Michelle or Michael, whatever you want to call him or her, is setting the standard for fashion. Really? It looks like to me, Omar, the tent maker, is her designer. I don't think that she dresses.
Well, we'll see which bathroom she uses. That's going to be interesting.
Well, I would look forward to seeing an attractive first lady. Wouldn't that be nice for a change? An attractive first lady, kind of like we had when Mrs. Kennedy, Jackie Kennedy, was the first lady. There was some elegance to the White House back then. Whether it was real or staged, there was an appearance of elegance. Right now, there's no appearance of elegance as far as I can tell. It has nothing to do with color. It has to do with style and class. We'll be right back. I was talking with our engineer, John at GCN, and we think we figured out where maybe some of these rumors are coming from that we have been thrown off the air. Well, I decided a couple months ago that I would no longer pay to be on the air. And that's one of the things that happens with a number of broadcasters. If you think that they're being paid by the radio station, that may not be the case. Maybe some of the major league players are paid at least a little bit or receive a couple minutes of advertising for their broadcast, and then they sell that advertising. But for those of us in alternative media, a lot of us have to pay to be on the air, and I decided I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not going to take any of the hard-earned funds from our farm and put it to satellite communications or stick broadcasting affiliates. Well, I took us off satellite Galaxy 19, and maybe that is I notified the radio stations that I'm not paying for airtime, and maybe slowly they've been some of them have been disconnecting our feed, and maybe that's why you're not hearing us in as many places. But I can't do this by myself. I'm not the big machine that some of these other broadcasters may be. I'm funding this out of my own wallet, and there's coming a point where I'm saying I just can't afford to do this anymore. I'm taking money from my family. I'm taking money from the farm. I'm taking money that we don't have, and I'm putting it into spending it on the air. And frankly, it's going to stop at some point. But there are affiliates who have called us and said, no, we're not going to take you off the air. We're not going to do it. You have a loyal following, and we're going to keep you on the air even though you're not paying us. Those calls I've received, and other calls I've gotten. People are adding us. Other radio stick broadcasting stations are adding us to their lineup. So I'm not sure exactly why all this is happening, but I just wanted to add that as a possible thought. Mike, did you have any other comments?
Well, as far as commenting about what Dr. Miller was saying earlier, you can create your own reality, and right now, with so many people waking up to the fact that the corporate government is a fraud, it's an illusion, we need to start standing up, and those people that are going to be leaders have to start by leading themselves. And I would just recommend that. Write down on a sheet of paper what you would view as your utopian government of you rolling you. But in the end of the day, I would ask you one simple question I've asked others. Some answer and some can't answer. Would you rather live free with a red man, or would you rather be a slave to a white man? And where I'm going with that is that if certain things have to be in such conditions that you would reject freedom over the appearances of whatever's your comfort level, then you'll continue to be a slave. If freedom is where it's at for you, then look around and find others that are operating and acting as free sovereigns and get involved with them, and they'll help you out, and then you can extend on your own. But it's a collective effort to stand with your fellow man as he stands in freedom, such as earlier this week, William and Kate were in B.C., and they went everywhere except the Chilcotin Nation. And when they summons the one of the major chiefs for BC, Stuart Phillips, he snubbed him. He did not go. And that sent a message to the Queen that we don't need you. We're not responding to you. We're standing on our own. And as the Chilcotin Indian Nation has declared their nation to the world, it's starting to get people's attention. You're not hearing it on the mainstream media, but when this major chief, the leader that's recognized by BC, snubbed, in essence, the crown, William and Kate, it's waking people up. People are taking responsibility, taking back their liberties, their freedoms. They're acting as sovereigns. And this is where it starts, my friend.
Mike Parsons, thank you so much. And you are of Native American heritage, correct?
I am. I am 3/4 Cherokee, and I'm adopted by the Chilcotin Indian Nation.
Mike Parsons, thanks so much for being with us. Rick Miller and I will be right back. Oh, by the way, this weekend, RK Gun Shows, Wichita, Kansas, Farmington, Missouri, and Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And Rick and I and Matt Stein and others will be at the KCI Expo Center this weekend, October 1 and 2. We'll talk more about that when we come back. Everyone all set, cocked, locked, hour number 2 of USA Prepares. And Rick Miller's with us. Hey, Rick, on Saturday and Sunday, you and I are going to be together in Kansas City, Missouri at the KCI Expo Center. And you and Matt Stein and I are all going to be on the same stage starting at 10 o'clock on Saturday and starting at 10 a.m. on Sunday as well. And we go until 3:30, so 3 of us are going until 3:30. But I wanted to mention that Dr. Joel Wallach is going to be flying in too. Last-minute update. So not only will Rick Miller, Matt Stein, Craig Douglas, Storm and Norman Cantwell, and I will be there, but so will Dr. Joel Wallach for 2 days. So that's kind of exciting. So all of us from USA Prepares will be there. And Rick, what are you going to talk about?
Well, lots of different things. The primary talk will be the first 4 worlds of defense against global mind control. And I'm going to run it down with pictures and slides of what they are actually doing to ruin each of us into becoming, I don't know what I want to call myself anymore. It's not a laptop, but geez, it's terrible. The foods, just in Oregon, going into town, 1 in every 4 people that I see is obese, not fat, obese. How did that happen? Well, it's our foods. And the foods that we're being allowed to eat, because that's what's in the stores. And when I watch someone like Safeway or others sell out for prices on strawberries that never rot, ever, what is that?
Well, a lot of our foods are becoming irradiated, and we're not told. Labels, I haven't seen a label that said, new, improved, irradiated, with one of those big cutout stars on the package that, like, this is a really good thing. I think it's silently being done. Our foods are being irradiated, chemically treated. And, my mom, when I was growing up in the 1960s, in the 50s, my mom used to refinish furniture. And she would get these old Civil War era chairs, and she would bring them into the basement, and she would soak them in a laundry tub that was it was water from the faucet mixed with trisodium phosphate, TSP, and it would peel the paint right off the wood, and it did a great job. And we have those chairs here at the farmhouse in Missouri right now. Well, anyway, then she was reading the box of cereals, grain cereals. I'm not talking about Fruit Loops, but I'm talking about like Cheerios. And she saw TSP, trisodium phosphate. So she called, and this was many, many years ago, she called General Mills and said, "What's the deal?" They said, "Oh, it's just, to make it whiter." Well, what color would Cheerios be if it wasn't bleached? So she was outraged that they used trisodium phosphate in cereals. And then if you look, it'll say things like BHA, BHD, and those are known carcinogens. Well, what they did, there was such an uproar about them using these cancer-producing chemicals in our food that they took the BHA and the BHD out of the food and they put it in the packaging. Now, why is that? Because it kills the bugs. It kills the bugs so that we don't have, we don't open the boxes and find, critters crawling around in there. That's kind of unappetizing. But that's the kind of stuff that is being done. Now, if we're killing these bugs with these chemicals, we are probably killing our digestive system as well. I mean, that's how I see it. We're poisoning those bugs with an insecticide, and we're poisoning ourselves with the same insecticide. So, and then you've got farmers who are spraying insecticides and herbicides on their properties. It's nuts. It's nuts. We don't do that here on our farm. We really don't. And I've noticed that, one of my farmer friends is dead, and he was telling me and Mike Parsons, both of us were in the truck with him maybe less than a year ago, that he would get on his four-wheeler and spray underneath his fence line to keep the weeds and the vegetation down, to make his fence line look great. Our fence line looks terrible because we don't do that. But that's the kind of stuff that we're doing. And then when it rains, those chemicals end up in the water supply.
The days of wine and roses.
Rick, what do you think about Nibiru? I've been reading about that coming in 2017. Are you familiar with that?
I don't know what to think about anything anymore, and I'm being stymied by creep. That means mandala effect and timelines, and the whole thing is so disturbing as to whatever happened to Howdy Doody. And this is crazy.
You mean, are you talking about
values,
whatever happened to...
The types of values, the reason that they did Mayberry was to teach moral codes of ethics and rules of conduct. The family is gone. There's 2 generations without that knowledge base, and all of our TV series is now the things that the mass market is taking in is about consumerism. And all you have to do is look at individuals and see one of the deadly sins, the greed and lust for food, for this, for that, keeping up with the Joneses. The whole concept of lifestyle is wrong and promoting the wrong values in everything.
One of the biggest square footage areas in the Chinese factory outlet is for television screens. How many
and
more?
There it is, China. It's has moved into and is now taking over America. I don't know what's happening in your state. In the state of Oregon, they own our forests. They're going to log them. They own our homes. In Grants Pass, Oregon, 50% of the property is owned by China.
Rick, if you think about it
right now,
when I was when I was at the university, I was thinking about, okay, so we're buying things from foreign countries. We're buying these products that they make, and we get the product, and they get our digits, our money, if you will. What are they going to do with the money? And I keep thinking, if you extrapolate that out, China has been getting our digits. China has been getting, we'll call it money, but our transaction digits. We've been getting these cheap products that end up in our landfills because they don't last very long.
Well, that's because originally things were sold 2 ways. There was best buy and cheapest. And now it's only about cheapest. Your primary deployment centers are including Walmart, Costco, everything is coming from China. When I left agriculture to come back as a military brat, I remember doing a huge field of feverfew down in California, shipping that product to China as bales of hay, and them tablet encapsulating it and sending it back to Costco as Kirkland brand feverfew for migraine headaches.
Rick, do you buy any food that's labeled made in China?
I don't do anything but try to buy as much as I can from local. I might buy a bottle of syrup for maple syrup. I might buy some jam that I would hope is made. I have certain brands, Nabob out of Canada, whatever. But, I have to tell you, originally, Nabob, and I'm just using this as a metaphor, used our raspberries and our blueberries out of the state of Oregon to make jam. And then they would sell, Canada would sell it back to us. Right now, the only thing that's being exported is storable commodities, and that's because our entire country has been hijacked by corporations. Monsanto, right now, that just sold to a bunch of Nazis in Germany, Bayer, right, has the largest private army in the world and 90% of the primary food productions in the world. Now, monopoly aside, so there's something desperately wrong here.
Okay, let me read a post that I found on Daily
by the way,
Mail.
it's health. It's about health. And look at the obesity and life expectancy and the kinds of things people are dying of right now in terms of what it used to be. In terms of heart attack today, it has to do with diabetes and whatever, sugar. You can smell the candida on your body when you're eating too much sugar. You can smell it. Oh, we'll
Rick,
sell you aluminum products for underodorant deodorants. And then we'll take your recycled cans and put them in the atmosphere as chemtrails. What is going on?
Rick, I'm looking at a post right now. It's at dailymail.co.uk, and it says, licensed to print money. You're talking about corporations. Hewlett-Packard, HP, faces backlash after blocking customers from using cheaper ink cartridges in its printers. U.S. company quietly changed settings on printers to reject rival cartridges. Printers now show error, quote unquote, forcing owners to buy more expensive HP, Hewlett-Packard, ink cartridges.
You know what else they're doing? They're using a coding sequence in the software that when you go online to order those products, it sends a signal down that changes the software in your printer. So now you have to recycle your printer every 3 years. And each printer from Hewlett-Packard is the same price, looks approximately the same, but every single part is not replaceable with older units. Why is that?
And they're ending up in our landfills, and it's all based on the cumulative effect, in my opinion, of individual greed. The cumulative effect. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. Rick, I was just looking at some of these images on the internet, and there's this image of Hillary with her red pantsuit on, and there's this couple bulges in the back. And people are wondering, what is that? Is that communications equipment? What actually is it that she's got under her red jacket? Did you see those images?
I'm certain that she's incontinent and has special diapers. I'm guessing she's got more illnesses than she's disclosed by law. I'm guessing that she is far more ill than anyone that has a right to be running for that position in government. I believe that she has at least 2, probably 3 doubles that are there to back it up in the event something goes wrong. It has, and we've noted them. There it is. What are we being offered as candidates but shills for something above them that's controlling everything? And if you think the Clintons are in control, they're point people for the Bushes. And we can go back to the Dulles brothers and we can run it down chapter and verse. The whole thing has been a hijack from the get, and every single what about that 13th Amendment where you're not allowed to hold public office if you're a lawyer? Where did that go? And when was that appealed or repealed or whatever they do and they make it no longer valid? I have a lot of questions. And the problem is, I know I'm never going to know what actually happened. I know that. I'm just one of the masses, the dupes, that is, an entity that's uncounted as a number. I'm not even human. It's bullshit. And it's so bad, I don't know what to say about it anymore. I'm lost.
We have to be careful of the words
yeah,
we
sorry.
use when
Yes. It's the problem. I apologize. The problem is I am so frustrated and I don't know where to get my information. The internet is no longer valid. It is Googled. Do you realize what Google is doing regarding artificial intelligence, which, newsflash, is out of control, and now it's like the Greek culture where the gods are at war with themselves, and we're just in the middle? There's something else going on here that is totally out of control. I have been doing radio recently on artificial intelligence computers, and will you see the kinds of phenomena I'm getting now as a result of even talking about it?
Are you talking about how Facebook has risen in value, corporate value, because of their connections to the U.S. corporation?
I'm going to talk about algorithms and the way you access universes that humans can't. I'm going to talk about the fact that we have created entities that are able to go places we can't. You can call that an avatar, but with your consciousness squared. That's what a supercomputer. You ought to look up the word D-Wave. D-Wave. Just start there. That's an interesting place to go. And realize that's up in Burnaby. And now they're selling these units to everybody. And they're gone. They're out of control. There are rogue AIs out there right now doing their thing with certain algorithms that will cause a shift in human consciousness. And I don't think you want to know where we're going.
There's a post on the internet talking about social intelligence, and Facebook artificial intelligence chief has developed surveillance systems. So they say there's social
Netflix?
media.
Yeah. Let's not forget Netflix and what they're doing to profile you.
Well, yeah, they know what we watch.
That's the search engines I'm talking about.
Right. You know, every time I look up a part for a vehicle or that I'm going to fix or that I'm working on, I get plenty of advertisements relating to that, and they just don't stop. They go for almost a week trying to remind me that I can buy that particular item over and over and over. And like every page that I search, I get an advertisement for it. You're absolutely right. They have profiled us. They know what our likes are, our dislikes, and so forth. So, class, you better be careful who uses your computer and what you search, because you may end up in court and they could say, "Are you a pedophile?" Really? Doc Ram's with us. DocRam.com. Dr. Richard Allen Miller, and we're going to be traveling and arriving at the same place at the KCI Expo Center in Kansas City, Missouri this weekend, October 1 and 2. And there'll be about 6 of us. Doc Wallach will be there, Dr. Joel Wallach, Craig Douglas, Matt Stein, Stormin Norman Cantwell, Craig Douglas, Rick Miller, and I will all be there. And it'll be like a little reunion. I'm looking forward to it. That's at the KCI Expo Center, October 1 and 2. Rick, I was working on an automatic transmission. and in the last few days, and I noticed that there's a magnet in each of these automatic transmission pans. When I take a transmission apart, there's a magnet to collect and attract the ferrous materials so that they don't circulate throughout the transmission and do more damage, metal on metal wear. And I've noticed that some crankcase drain plugs in engines have a magnet embedded or attached to the drain plug so that it will also attract ferrous materials and prevent some additional wear of the engine. And then I was thinking about, these magnets that surround water pipes. The Russians have used them, and I remember reading in Popular Science, Popular Mechanics advertisements for that back in the maybe 60s and 70s on how these magnets could treat water, and what a great idea. And then I was thinking about us. What about just having a magnet around, or several magnets around our coffee mug or our water glass or whatever we drink beverages out of? Would that have any positive effect, in your opinion?
Probably not, in that it's assaulting us not in just the water that we're drinking and the oil wearing of parts. It's in everything now. The air you're breathing, the food you're eating. Where are you going to put a magnet for all of that?
Well, that's absolutely true. But what I'm saying is there a positive benefit for adding a magnet around, let's say if I took some tape as a test and I got 4 north-south magnets, maybe an inch long, and put them at 90 degrees apart around my coffee mug, for example.
Well, that'll only work with ferrous materials, and the problem is there's other materials out there that are metal.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, would it have any effect on structuring the water in any way, shape, or form, or no?
That is the foundation of a hippie movement around using magnets for healing. And what I have discovered for myself, that is 2 orders of magnitude less than gravity, and those metals going down to the bottom of my feet. All I have to do is put my feet in an electrolysis machine from Japan, and I'm totally grossed out at what's coming out of the bottom of my feet, just that has not been absorbed by one of your organs and has been a free agent to fall by gravity to the bottom of the foot. That's a gross out. And so a magnet is going to grab possibly 2 orders of magnitude less material, because we're talking about motion, the level of the magnetic field, and the problem is you're restructuring things around that magnetic field. And you may or not want to be doing that as well. See, I don't know. What I do know is when I put my feet in one of these electrolysis machines, it'll gross me out. That's how much metal is in your body that needs to be caught when you drain your oil.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with this. Is there? I was on the air yesterday, and we got a call from one of our students who happens to listen to us, and this student suggested that there is, if you take red wine, according to this student, if you take red wine like a Merlot and you put it in your mouth and you swish it around for 3 or 4 minutes, and then you spit out that red wine, you'll see these filaments of red and blue in the wine. Have you heard of that? I was going to try it last night.
You have particulate in all of your bricks of sugar. I mean, the sugars bind on these metals. And so there it is. The sweeter the wine, the bricks of sugar in it is going to, right off the gate. That's Callenbach and others that have written about that. So
is this something?
I'm concerned. about our foods.
Yep.
And how we consume them now without even thinking about what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you go down the food aisle or the beverage aisle in the Chinese factory outlet, you'll see colors that are just unnatural. You'll see
that's
blues.
Right. You only see day-glow colors in death, where something is rotting or being broken down by a parasite, a mold or a yeast. Yes, that's where you see those kinds of colors now, is in death.
And so, Rick, do you recommend that we do this swishing of red wine in our mouths to remove some of these compounds, metals?
To be able to tell whether it was used in an oak cast or a stainless steel?
No. What I mean
don't
is,
even want to think about it. I basically would recommend that if you're going to drink wine, you make your own.
Yeah, and it's not all that hard. It's not all that hard.
It's an art form, just like painting or sculpting is. And if you think the antioxidants are important to you, grow your own blueberries.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here at the farm. We planted 6 blueberry bushes, and 5 of them survived. It's the first time that we've been able to get them to survive. We did it in a raised bed garden this time, maybe 6 feet by 6 feet, and so 5 out of 6 are growing. So yes, you're absolutely right. We do need to raise our own food. We did that this summer.
Or barter with your neighbors. Like your neighbors might have a vineyard, and what you have is a bunch of cows.
We're looking at, as Rick mentioned this, we're looking for an instructor who can teach us how to make beer, how to make mead, and how to make wine. So if you are knowledgeable in that area and you'd like to come on the air with us, send me an email. Email to Vincent at USA Preparedness.
What you're talking about is the science of fermentation, which has already been shown to be critical and important to the health of your bacteria in your gut. And so these wines and beers and near beers and root beers have function if used in right livelihood with it. And it's a balance. It's not about going out to dinner and candlelight. It's about, why are you doing it? What is your purpose?
Yeah, and if you look back at the story we're talking about with Hewlett-Packard, and they're facing a huge backlash from customers because Hewlett-Packard, according to what I've read, has quietly changed the settings on its machines through software so that it will stop recognizing some non-Hewlett-Packard ink cartridges. So that means that customers, according to this post on dailymail.co.uk, it means that customers will be forced to use Hewlett-Packard brand cartridges, which are more expensive. And so what do you do in a situation where a company, a corporation, has done this to you, where you think that you can use consumable parts like cartridges for a printer or oil filters for an automobile that are not of the manufacturer's brand that made the original device? What do? Well, it's real easy. You just boycott that company. You stop buying every one of their products, not just one of them. You stop buying their products from now on, forever. And you tell all your friends that this is the situation, and here's what you're doing about it. Now, if enough of us do these kinds of things, and if enough of us buy these products, and then we say, you know what, we want, satisfaction always, isn't that what Walmart said? And we start bringing these printers back and these cartridges back and saying, you know what, I have a problem with this because the update of the software that I got has now caused me not to be able to use other brands of cartridges, which is what I was going to do in the beginning when I bought this a year ago. I don't want this thing anymore. I don't trust this company. I don't know what else they're doing. I have no faith in them. I don't want anything to do with them. Here it is. I want my money back. And if enough of us do that, and if enough of us tie up the customer service departments in these companies that sell the Hewlett-Packard printers, then maybe Walmart would say, you know what, Hewlett-Packard, this has been a real problem for us. we're spending too much time with our customer service representatives, talking to angry customers. I think we're going to have to switch to some other brand of printer because we obviously can't trust you guys. So that's the plan. The plan is to boycott companies that do these kinds of things to us. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing my entire life.
The whole thing about printers has been based on the use of consumerism and having to replace parts where they give you the machine for free, just like the telephone companies did and the communication systems. Every single company like that has been designed to have you become dependent on them and the foods they're producing, whether it's a printer or it's a strawberry. It's crazy, and I will not participate anymore, and I've stopped eating strawberries.
Rick, how about we've reached, how about the carbon dioxide, CO2? I understand from the posts that I've been reading that we have permanently reached the tipping point, where we can no longer reverse the percentage of carbon dioxide in the air. It has surpassed 400 parts per million, the highest that has been detected for as long as we've been alive, Rick. Can we talk about that when we come back? Hey, Rick, I had a question. This weekend, you and I are going to be at the KCI Expo Center. Will I be able to buy a copy of your Encyclopedia Farming, the ebook?
Buy a copy of my what?
Your ebook in your Encyclopedia Farming?
Well, I won't be packing ebooks with me. You can get them online. My encyclopedia is now ready for sale in several different formats. We're trying to figure out how to get the Nook and Kindle part up. The PDFs are already being sold. It's 9 volumes and may become a Bible for anyone wanting to think about diverse options in crops like an herbal pharmacy. At some point, all of you are going to need, if you're on prescription drugs, are going to need to have an alternative backup should the system go down and you need your blood thinner. And if you don't start thinking about these kinds of things now, watch what happens next with the way the pharmaceutical houses are now regulating medicine.
So how do we get this encyclopedia, Rick?
Well, you can go to oak-publishing.com or either of my websites, docram.com or richardallenmiller.com, and I have a bookstore. You can go directly to the bookstore. Great.
Okay, and for those, are you bringing any books that you're going to autograph with you?
I bought 2 cases, Matt's sending 6. I'm not as optimistic from the last show I did. And what I'm doing is trying to hawk my books and some new titles that I have to include the encyclopedia. The one that's going up next will be The Small Family Farm for the 21st Century. And it's quite different and a companion to The Potential of Herbs as a cash crop. That book was written for increasing gross national product and export of spice trade. This book is now talking about how you do your marketings in the local and regional area rather than using any kind of transportation to ship it to Hamburg.
Okay, that's oak-publishing.com. Richard Allen Miller.
Oak-publishing.com, yeah.
Right. And richardallenmiller.com and docram.com.
Yeah, my Facebook is a reflection of my website on the daily posts, and both have access to the thing. Right now, I have over 40,000 views a week now on Facebook, and I'm telling you that Facebook harasses me daily now because I am starting to attract traffic on my opinion on things. And the things that I'm posting are, for anyone to find. I'm looking at USA Today. When you go to USA Today or some of these other standard media sources, they immediately hijack your computer. At the end of the day, I have more than 800 different little Klingons that have come to me just from surfing various nets. And some of these places have creepy viruses done with intent.
Yep. Rick, very quickly, we're running out of time. 400 parts per million carbon dioxide. We've reached the tipping point. Are you concerned?
Not only am I concerned, it's look at the weather. You tell me what's going on. How's your grass doing this year?
I can tell you. I can tell you. I can tell you what's going on. When I go out and look at the grasses on the farm, I get in a four-wheeled device and ride around and look at the fields. Our fields are greener than ever before. We've harvested typically on average 250,000 pounds of hay per hay season. This year, we didn't do all the fields. We got 340. Had I harvested all the hay that we typically would harvest, it'd be 400,000 pounds.
How did they say you better make hay when it's available? Because guess what's going to happen this winter? And now,
that's why we did it.
This September, not even into October, is the warmest in world record history.
Rick, what about the solar storm that's heading our way? Could be here between now and Friday.
And why you and I have had bad radio this morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one? Yeah. And that space station that came down 2 days ago?
Yep.
That was the
Are you
Chinese
concerned about
station.
concerned about this solar storm?
Yes, I would be concerned about a lot of things, your neighbors. I would start to take a closer look at how and why you do what you do.
Very good. Richard Allen Miller is with us. Doc Ram, Dr. Richard Allen Miller, thank you so much for being with us.
In a couple of days, Vincent.